The discovery and settlement of Iceland. The island of Iceland has always been considered part of Europe, even though it is in the greatest isolation from European countries. Due to its great distance from the continent, volcanic activity, and cold climate, there are still few people living here, and it is very difficult to maintain a normal standard of living. But who discovered this wonderful island and thought of living on it? The history of Iceland, according to the ancient sagas, begins in the middle of the 9th century when a Norwegian named Nadid reached the island. After he strayed from Norway to the Faroe Islands. The Vikings landed on the east coast of Iceland. Wanting to explore their surroundings, they climbed a high mountain and began to look around for signs of human life. However, they could see nothing. Snow had fallen in the mountains before the team set sail, so Nadid named the place Snland, meaning snowy land. The next Viking to reach Iceland was the Swede Gardar Svarson. He also drifted casually toward the coast of Iceland. To see if there was an island in front of him, he moved his ship along the coast. The voyage took a long time, and Gardar and his men had to wait out the winter months in a bay on the north coast. There they built several houses, and the place has been called Husavik ever since, and he named the island Gardarsholm after himself. Then he left the island. The Norwegian Viking Floki Vilgerdarson was the third Scandinavian to visit Iceland. He went in search of Gardarsholm with the intention of settling there. Taking his family, friends, and household, Floki and his men walked along the southern coast, skirted the Reykjanes Peninsula, and moved further north until they found a fjord on the northwest coast where the land was fertile and vegetation abundant. All summer the people were busy making supplies for the winter, but they completely forgot about the hay, and during the long winter all the cattle died of starvation. In the spring, Floki climbed the mountain and saw that the fjord was still covered with ice. Filled with bitter disappointment, he named the country Icelandia, a name that remains to this day. Shortly thereafter, Floki likely returned to Norway with the resources and knowledge he had gained from the unsuccessful attempt at settlement. The full settlement of Iceland began in 874. As a result of the unification of Norway under King Harald I the Beautiful-Haired. Many families came into conflict with Harald as Harald imposed taxation, and they were forced to flee in search of a new place to live. Once they reached Iceland, they were at first only free to occupy land on the coast. After all, the sea was not only a source of food, but also of wood, since there was almost no forest in Iceland. The first settler is considered a noble Norwegian Ingolf Arnarsson and his wife Hallveig Franadottir, who settled in the area of modern Reykjavik in 874. According to the saga, he threw 2 carved poles overboard, and vowed to settle wherever they nestled ashore. He then sailed along the coast until the poles were found on the southwestern peninsula, now known as Reykjanesgagi. There he settled with his family around 874 in a place he called Reykjavik, which translates as Smoke Cove, probably from the geothermal steam rising above the land. Ingolfr was followed by many more Norse chieftains, their families, and slaves, who settled all the residential areas of the island in the following decades. Archaeological evidence strongly suggests that the timing is roughly accurate. The whole country was settled within a few decades by the end of the 9th century. These people were mostly of Norwegian, Irish and Scottish descent. According to the sagas of the Icelanders, some of the Irish and Scots were slaves and servants of Norse chieftains. Iceland was completely settled within 60 years, and all the arable land was taken over by the various settlers. As Iceland was settled, it developed a governmental system. Each region had a tinge, an assembly, analogous to the ancient Russian Vesha, where the court and disputes were decided. To decide the most important issues, the regional chiefs gathered in the beginning of summer for an Althingi under the guidance of a special person, a lawgiver. The first Althingi was convened in 930, and it is from this date that the era of the people's government is counted. The Icelandic democracy is believed to be the oldest surviving democracy in the world. However, usually the winner of the meeting was not the one who was right in the eyes of the law, but the one who got the support of more rich landowners. This was facilitated by the fact that the laws were extremely intricate, with many exceptions and special cases. And they were often not written down but memorized by the legislator, so knowing the laws was a great art. In 1000 at the Althingi, the Icelanders adopted Christianity as the official religion of Iceland. This was a forced measure, as all of Europe was Christianized and it was necessary to go along with them for trade and friendly relations. Thank you for watching. I hope I was able to tell you a credible story of the settlement of Iceland. If you liked it, please subscribe to the channel and like it. I would appreciate it.